This is Tuesday, July 28th. There are 358 days until San Diego Comic-Con 2027. Welcome to SDConCast, the official podcast of the San Diego Comic-Con unofficial blog.
VANUHTEE go.
Oh my god, I love LiveJournal, and my LiveJournal loves me. Current mood is hyperactive, current music, Refuse 73. I love the color scheme, it's pink and purple, it looks dreamy.
Hello, everybody. I am your host, James Riley, and joining me on the podcast, as always, Carrie Dixon.
Hey guys, thanks so much for joining us.
And our special guest this evening is San Diego Comic Convention's Chief Communications and Strategy Officer, David Glanzer.
Hello there.
Welcome,
Thanks
David.
for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Absolutely.
Considering there was just some major event that you were helping to run for the last week, and it's only been 2 days.
Yeah, well, you know what? I think anybody who's tuning in, kudos to them as well, because I think it was really a packed week, and I think it's a testament that they're all still standing or at least sitting up.
Absolutely.
Okay, so everyone, welcome again to SDConCast. We'll take comments and questions during the show. You can tweet us at SD_comic_con or use the hashtags SDConCast. If you wish, we'll keep an eye on the YouTube live chat. You can comment there, ask questions there. But let's get talking to David and Carrie. Kick it off.
Well, first of all, David, I know I said this just before, but thank you so much again for joining us. It's been a few years, so we're very excited to have you back on our show. And let's just start with where it all started. So, how many years have you been involved in Comic-Con, and where did it start for you?
It's been, I think, 42 years. I started as a volunteer, and in fact, most senior people within the organization started as volunteers. I had attended Comic-Con. I was a really very big, and still am, film fan. And a friend of mine had said, if you really like movies, you should go to Comic-Con. And I said, well, I've read Archie, but I don't know much about comics. So, they have a 24-hour film room. And I went to Comic-Con and was amazed. There was a 24-hour film. They showed 60 millimeter films of film noir, silent movies, more up-to-date movies. And I discovered, as much as I thought I knew, my young brain thought I knew about film, there were people who were absolute experts, and they loved sharing their information. I was like a sponge. It was just the most amazing thing. One thing led to another, and several years later, I was working on a local office of a national political campaign. And a friend of mine who was on the committee said, hey, on that political campaign, do you write press releases? And I said, I do. They're all, do you think you can help us out? I said, I can. And I think one thing led to another, and I volunteered for about 10 years. And then they asked if I could come on staff. And I thought, I'll do that for a year or two. And here we are so many years later.
I love that, though. And I love that, it started out as just, sharing a passion. Because for me, that's what Comic-Con is all about, honestly.
And also learning, right? I mean, I learned a lot about comics. The stuff that I didn't know. And, I'm a history buff, and I like to learn about conflicts and all that. And to find out there was a whole genre of war comics, a whole genre of just any number of things. Comics are a great reflection of the times that we've all lived in or experienced or haven't in history and whatnot. And there's just so much to like. So yeah, I'm a lucky dog.
Absolutely. Well, in those 42 years, what would you say are some of the biggest changes that you've seen Comic-Con go through in that time period?
That's a great question. So when I started with the show, probably had about 4,000 or 5,000 people, which was still really a big convention at the time. But people in San Diego, let alone the country, didn't know what Comic-Con was. We used to get a lot of people saying, it's a comedians convention. Do you guys have, comics that come by? It's like, no, not that kind of comics. We were contacted many years ago, I think HBO or some cable network had a big comedy fest that had to do with comics, and they asked if we wanted to be involved. And I thought at the time, well, we can chat. I don't know if we're a blend. I thought, no, it'll be great. It'll be great. And after a couple months of talking, though, so what comics usually come? And again, didn't really know who we were or what we were. We used to print up thousands of comp tickets and give them away on the radio. We had to buy a schedule.
Yep.
We didn't have a lot of money, but we'd buy $1,000 here, $1,000 there, and the stations would be kind enough to give away tickets. And really, we thought if we could just get people through the door, they would find something fun, tell their friends, and but we literally couldn't give them away. So I think the biggest change we've seen is obviously the size, but more importantly, I think the scope and the recognition.
Yep.
We were considered geeks. I remember calling anchors saying, pejorative comments aren't really helpful, and now those same anchors want to come to the show. So it's great.
Absolutely, it is. It's really cool to see how the show has changed.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that most of the staff is volunteers who just kind of came up through, and I think that's one of the things that helps you guys put on an amazing show. You guys do such a good job, but also there's not actually very many of you. How many actual employees are at Comic-Con International?
Well, I think now that we have the museum as well, the number can vary depending upon what time of year it is. We have temp employees, seasonal employees. We probably now have more employees than we ever had, and I think we're probably close to 75. But again, they're not all there.
Right, they're not all full time. Yeah,
Exactly. And the museum has a lot of part-time staff because, of course, it's a 6-day-a-week museum. So, but yeah, I mean, it used to be. When I first started with the convention, I think there were 4 employees, and we had a little office that in the gas lamp area, and it's a very different scenario now.
Yeah, but by contrast, there are a lot of volunteers. So, how important is the volunteer force to Comic-Con?
Well, honestly, if we didn't have the volunteers, we couldn't do the show. I think we have over almost 8,000 or 9,000 volunteers. A lot of those volunteers are daily volunteers, so they work a set number of hours on any particular day, and then they can stay at the show later on and take part. We also have a lot of staff volunteers, or we call them department volunteers. And those are people who, get assigned as a daily volunteer to a department, and they're like, I kind of like it here. Do you need me next year? And all of a sudden their 3-hour shift turns into a 5-hour shift, turns into a 6-hour shift. And this is true of all departments. And this year, in my department, we've had volunteers. I get emotional thinking about it. We had volunteers who had a 10-year threshold, 20-year threshold, and some that have been with us for 30 years. And it's remarkable. It's remarkable because they show up. One of my volunteers is there with us, at like 4 o'clock in the morning, 3:30 in the morning, and doesn't end until 9 o'clock at night. Other volunteers open up the press desk at 7:30 or 8, and they don't leave until late. And they keep coming back. And I asked them I'm sorry for being long-winded, but this is so cool.
You're good.
Okay, thanks. I remember asking them a few years ago, so why do you do this? I mean, it's fun, but you're spending so much time behind the desk and working. And they said something which I think is really true, and that is it's community. It's great to see people they haven't seen for a while, but more importantly, to be able to help people to have as good of an experience as they can. They enjoy what they do. They will spell each other, so they'll go through the program and say, "Oh, I'd like to see this program. Okay, I'll cover you here, and then I want to see this." And it's the perfect thing because they know what to talk about when somebody comes up and says, "What do you think about so and so?" And they've been to the panel or they have background information. So it's very, very cool.
Well, we love the volunteers as well, so it's always nice. One of the coolest and biggest news to come out of this year's convention is that the contract is extended. Congratulations. I know that was a lot of work on your end. and it's extended all the way through 2030, which is great news. Can you just talk a little bit about like how long that's been in the works?
Yeah, we typically do 3-year contracts, and the reason we do 3-year contracts is we can lock in room rates. There's always a percentage increase, but it's a small percentage during those 3 years. After 3 years, we negotiate again, or a lot of the hotels want to negotiate again. Some of those contracts are years in the making. Really, we have some hotels that have been fantastic with us. They give us a majority of their rooms for the room blocks. In fact, I think the hotels that are adjacent on Harbor Drive next to the convention facility not only give us great room blocks, but also allow us to use meeting space. You know, we outgrew the convention in 2010. We use up all the meeting space, so we're very grateful that they allow us to have the Indigo Ballroom or stuff at the Manchester Hyatt or the Marriott. But it really is a long negotiating process, and we have to negotiate individually with every hotel. So it's very time consuming. I think the challenge for us really is to try to get a bare minimum, at least, of room blocks that can accommodate a majority or at least a good section of the people who want to come to the show. Our lowest threshold is 14 peak nights, which I think translates to about 65,000 or 70,000 room nights over the course of the convention. And it used to be much higher. We used to get a lot more. It's now been a little bit of a struggle to get to the 14,000, but we did. So we extended to 2030.
I truly think that your team being passionate about securing those rates is possibly one of the greatest things that you guys do. I think a lot of conventions would not, and I am always incredibly grateful that your team does. Can you just speak a little bit about like why your team also thinks it's important to help make sure attendees aren't paying like $1,000 a night?
Well, absolutely. I think, we're fans ourselves. I mean, like we discussed earlier, a lot of the senior management started as volunteers because we just attended the show. We loved it. We wanted to get involved in it. I can remember, and I'm sure this is true of other people with this show as well, saving my money. The very first convention I ever went to, I had $43. And, way back in the dinosaur area, that wasn't that was a good amount of money. But that had to be spent on food, product and hotels. Well, we would share hotel rooms. And I remember once joking that if we can get more people in the hotel, we would each pay even less. But if we get enough people in the hotel room, the hotel will owe us money. Obviously, it doesn't work that way. But it's really important to be able to have the show be as affordable as it possibly can. It's not a cheap show. It's not a cheap city. And I think when you think about not just kids, but people who want to spend money on the floor, who want to do the things that are at Comic-Con, $800,000, $900,000 room nights isn't possible.
Feasible.
And we hear back from some hotels who say, well, but the studios can afford that. They have expense accounts and stuff. And I think what they forget sometimes is the studios are there because the fans and attendees are there. If the fans and attendees can't afford to stay, guess what? We're going to see less, seats filled. If that happens, we're going to see less exhibitors. If that happens, the show's going to shrink. And luckily, we do have San Diego Tourism Authority. I think the mayor's office. We have on-peak who helps us as well. There's a lot of people who are really, really rolling up their sleeves and helping us with this. And so sometimes it really does come down to the wire. I think I've heard anchors on news sometimes say, Comic-Con is threatening to leave again. They'll never leave. They just want to get, more money or a better rate. We do want to get a better rate. We don't want to leave. But if it gets to the point where we start seeing, there's more conventions now than there were 30 years ago. If we start hearing from our attendees saying, yeah, Comic-Con isn't so much of a FOMO anything. Now it's kind of a bucket list. If I can make it, great. If I don't, not a big deal. That's when we all need to start worrying.
So I know you mentioned that, yes, the number of available pool hotels in the pool has definitely shrunk over the years. Are you able to share any sort of numbers about like how much that pool has shrunk?
Well, it's interesting because I think we actually have more hotels this year than we have in the past, but it's the room allotment. So we
Right.
have some hotels who have increased their room blocks by a little bit, which we're incredibly grateful for. There are other hotels who have reduced their room blocks, and some who've just outright left the program. And I think one of the challenging things for us as show organizers is to try to convince those hotels who do give us a discounted rate, who do give us room blocks, when they say, "Gosh, we're helping you out, but the hotel next door isn't, and they're getting $800 a night." And we say, "Yeah, but we love you, and the fans love you, and I think there's a bit of loyalty that we have, in our fans because they know that they are working with us. Those other hotels that don't, okay, if they can get whatever the room blocks they are, but I think there's more and more of those high price rooms available. If you go on the internet during Comic Con week, you'll see a lot of the room blocked hotels and all that are booked up. A lot of the hotels who aren't, not so much.
I would agree with that statement.
Speaking of the hotels, this year the hotel sale it moved to first come first serve, live inventory. People were buying as they were let in. Can you talk about why that decision was made and how do you think it went this year as a first run?
Great questions. I think we're still analyzing how it went. I think there were some mixed results. I think it was good for instantaneously knowing what you had and where you were going to be. The challenge, of course, was a lot of the stuff did go fast, and the stuff downtown typically goes fast anyway. I think there was a lot of stress from people worrying about getting those rooms. We're going to analyze that and see if we're going to continue that. The stuff that we've heard has been mixed, leaning a little bit positive, but we really have to do a deep dive into that. I think one of the big challenges with our event is we've outgrown the convention center. We don't have enough hotels in the downtown area, even though there are more hotels now than there were 30 years ago. We have our early registration program with hotels in Mission Valley that are on the circuit.
Yep.
I think that helps a bit, and I think people, are realizing that while it's cool to be downtown, for the most part, a lot of the attendees, just sleep in the rooms, right? They're up early, they're back late. So I think, downtown is really a great place to be, but Mission Valley is okay too. And, there are some people who stay as far away as like La Jolla and Chula Vista
Absolutely.
and La Mesa. Yeah. So, and they appreciate having less rates to pay and, but still enjoy the show and, make the best of what's really a tough situation.
Absolutely. And I will say, I was probably one of the most nervous people about the new change in the hotel sale. And I felt like it went pretty well. And in speaking with our readers, like it seemed like they felt like it went pretty well. So
Well,
I'm with
I
you.
appreciate that.
Absolutely.
I think also when there's any change,
Yeah,
it's
there's
not.
anxiety. We're
I
nerds. We
I
don't
have
like
a
change, David.
that's so true. I have to tell you, I absolutely if something just a little bit changes, I obsess. And with the team who've been with my team who've been with me forever, honestly, this is so embarrassing. A good part of their job is to just make sure that their stuff gets taken care of and all that. But they've been very gracious and like, David, don't freak out. It's okay. We'll get through it. And I appreciate that because invariably we're doing something that we hope will have a positive outcome. Doesn't always, but it's good to hear that as stressful as it was kind of okay, and hopefully that repeated itself more than not.
Yeah, like I said, and speaking to our readers, it seemed like for the most part, we actually all kind of liked it. So
Great.
So we're gonna switch gears just a little bit, and I'm gonna ask you: do you have a favorite moment from the convention this year?
I do, and it's going to. It may sound a little cheesy. So there's so many cool things at the show, right? Exhibitors, I love cats. There's a whole big cat thing on the floor. Programs, and we had some amazing programs. Ryan Reynolds is walking around the floor taking pictures with people in costume. Those are really cool things. But to me, it really is the community. I see people that I don't see for a year, and we pick up right where we left off. We're in a situation where this is our home. I saw a reporter interviewing a young woman, maybe 21, 22 or something. And she was sitting going through comics, and the reporter said, "Can I ask you some questions?" Sure. And the reporter said, "So, while you're here, yada, yada, yada." And finally he said, "So this is kind of the place where you can be your alter ego, right? And it's you have the freedom to do that." And she looked at him like perplexed, and she said, "No, this is me here. Outside is when I have to pretend to be somebody else." And I was like, wow, that is so true. On Sunday night, we have a little dinner with my team, and I don't know why they do it, but I'm glad they do. And that is, to me, probably among the best things of the people that attend the show.
it's summer camp for geeks. I mean, it really is. Like, that's exactly what it is. Like, we get to show up once a year. We get to see all of our favorite friends. We get to do our favorite things. Like, it is. It's summer camp for us nerds. We love it.
And then it all ends. There's the anticipation. There's this intense week. And for us, we're like, oh my gosh, there's so much to do, so much to do, so much to do. And Sunday comes around and we're like, I don't want it to be 5 o'clock yet. And then it just disappears. But we have next year to look forward to.
Absolutely. How many days again was it, James?
358.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
That is both exciting and
terrifying.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Terrifying.
All right. Well, on the flip side of that, heading into the con this year, did you have any concerns?
We always do. I can't talk very much about security just because it's something we shouldn't talk about. Because
sure, agreed.
I got into many years ago. I got into a little bit of a discussion with somebody who wanted to know the process of celebrities actually getting into the building. And I said, well, we can't really talk about it. And they said, well, now you're just being difficult. And yeah, I probably was, but in this day and age, we just have to be careful about everything. I think going into the show, I'm always concerned that something bad doesn't happen. I will say we have an amazing police force that we work with very, very intimately, fire and rescue. We have a lot of security. They monitor. There's a national security that monitors. It's such a big event. There are 2,000 members of the media from all over the world that it really is a big thing. And we're grateful every year that, security is handled very well. And I think going into the show, I'm always concerned that things will go well, that people have a good time, that people are safe. And that's kind of my thing going into the show. And I think we all are always worried about our own department. Like, did I do everything that I can possibly do? Did I cross all the T's and dot all the I's? And the reality is sometimes stuff pops up and you just spend the last month before the show trying to keep the train on the tracks. And if you're successful, it works, but it doesn't always work.
Absolutely. Well, on that note of security, I do actually have a couple of questions and I understand if you can't completely answer all of these. And I also want to clarify, like, when I say security, I'm mostly talking about like line security, not like the police force. But I'm always curious, like, what kind of training or preparation do like the line management teams and that security team kind of go through?
So it's important that we differentiate between security and other departments, and that's a California thing. Um, it used to be that we used to be able to, if you see somebody running down the hall or acting weird, that we could stop them and say, "Hey, you know what? You can't do that." That's more challenging for us now. Somebody who has a guard card or somebody who is specifically trained in security matters can handle that. We can let somebody know, and we have enough security that they can get there right away. Um, but our roles now is different than it used to be. With regard to Lions, so there is a Lions department. They have to hire a lot of temp staff before the
Yeah.
Lions. They give them, I think, basic information of what needs to happen, how to handle things, how to interact. Um, I will say that one of the challenges that we certainly saw this year, but that has happened in the last couple of years, not just with Lions, but even with security, is trying to make sure that everybody has the correct information.
Right.
And we have so much security. We actually utilize San Diego security companies. I think security companies from Vegas and Los Angeles. We have a security management company that just manages security because there are so many and make sure that everybody talks to each other. They're trained. They're given an inordinate amount of information on restricted areas, on who can go where, on the different kinds of badges, on just a bunch of stuff, where people can line up, where people can't line up, where all this stuff. And I have to say, I think it's kind of overwhelming. It's remarkable that every year we will hear somebody say, I tried to get upstairs to the programming room and I was told that the upstairs is closed. You can't go upstairs. Clearly, that's not correct. Um, I don't know how that information got to that individual, but something like that similarly happens every year. I have a badge that allows me access to a variety of different places, and oftentimes I'm stopped and told, I don't know what that badge is. I can't let you in. The plus side of that is they're taking their job very seriously and want to make sure there's no breach. The negative side is it's hampering somebody doing their job and needing to get to where they need to get. So it's not a perfect system. It's one that we need to improve upon.
Absolutely. And honestly, I'm glad to hear you say that you're aware that like there are issues, because it has for sure felt like the last couple of years, like just the enforcement of the rules has just gotten like really wonky. It's just not consistent. I mean, this year we have folks on our own team, like security was telling her, like, oh, you have a press badge, like you can go through the fire lane here. And she was like, no, I can't. Why are you
Well,
telling me I can't?
thank her for that. Well, I have to tell you another thing too is we've caught a couple of people who had all access badges that they just made themselves. There,
Yeah.
about 5 years ago, there was won't mention the studio, but there was an individual from the studio who had an all access badge for an event the studio had. And he's walking through his all access badge. And the security guard kind of looked at him and said, well, hold on a second. That's not one of our badges. It says all access. I can get through. I felt bad for the security guard because they were a young person. It was like, oh my gosh, if this really is a VIP,
Yeah.
what am I doing? And luckily, they called the supervisor and we came over and we're like, what are you doing? They're like, well, I thought that maybe you would, it's like, the problem
Yeah.
with that is that you then have an unsecure environment. And
Yeah.
while there are a lot of different safeguards, if somebody's determined to do something, we all have to be aware of that. So we really do take that seriously. But you're right. Sometimes it gets to the point where panelists can miss a panel or be late to a panel.
Mhm.
Security needs to get to, a member of a department needs to get to somebody to solve a problem, and they're not allowed to. And it is challenging. It's something that we're constantly working on. I know that sounds like a general answer, but with the amount of security we have, we just need to do better. And I think they want to do better. Um, but it is a challenge.
Yeah, and we do understand that. I mean, again, like, I think just knowing that you guys are aware that, like, there are issues and you're working internally to take steps to correct it. I mean, I think that's really kind of all we want to hear, is just like, you guys know you're gonna, hopefully next year will be better. Yeah.
And I appreciate you saying that. And believe it or not, it happens to us too. I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but a situation happened this year that we had to get someplace very quickly, and we had a vehicle, and we're told you can't come on. And it's like, well, I have the sign here that says I have access here. I have this thing from your police that say, like, no, we don't have those rules. And it's like, those aren't the rules we've been given. So, I know they're trying to do their job, but thank goodness that you and your team and others are patient, because sometimes it can tax your patience.
Yes, for sure. Well, let's talk about something that happened this year. As I think we all are aware, there was some issues with the Hall H wristbands on Saturday, in that it seems as though more wristbands were given out than folks were able to get into the room. Can we talk about that a little?
Yeah, so the room has a room count, and less wristbands are made than there are seats in the room.
Right.
I think the challenge is the fact that, I shouldn't say a lot about this because we're still exploring this. I mean, this week really is closing up the show, but every department has been informed that we're going to sit down and hammer this out, and need to make some changes that will mitigate this type of thing. I think, we discovered it was a little more, I don't want to say loose. It wasn't as, I don't know what the word is, but it could have been better. It should have been better. And I think we thought it was better. We had a situation a few years ago with another studio.
Yep.
And when we did our deep dive into that ended up being a miscommunication of somebody kind of taking over, saying, okay, this isn't going right. It was going right. It didn't look right to them. And they changed the plan. That plan ended up creating a snowball effect where literally pallets of stuff were put in front of exit doors. It was just a huge debacle. We addressed that, and it was good that the information that we all had was the information we were supposed to have. The bad thing was something else reared its head, and I think that there's going to be big changes moving forward. There has to be. I think we want to make sure that people who are spending as much time as they are at the show or in line don't feel like they're being ignored, or that people are cutting in front of them, or any number of stuff that we heard. And already there's some ideas that people are just throwing out within the organization. Some good, some might not be practical, but we're going to sit down. I think this is going to be honestly a multi-month deep dive that I trust will have some genuine changes so that this doesn't happen again.
Again, I understand you guys are still investigating, but I do just kind of want to address some of the rumors that I've heard. That I've seen your responses from Talkback. I've seen some other things. I know a lot of people are saying, like, oh, it was counterfeit badges, but everything that I've seen you say is like, as of right now, there's no proof of that, right?
Well, we haven't seen it. Yeah, it's just like you've been to Talkback, and somebody will often say, hey, I was denied so-and-so, somebody grabbed me, whatever it happens to be. And we always say, please get a description of that person. Please find a staff person or another security. If you can let us know where they are, what time of day it was, the description, that allows us to act fast. A lot of the stuff we're hearing about counterfeit wristbands and all that seem to have happened after the fact. I'm not saying it didn't happen because we just don't know yet. And we may end up finding some evidence, but we haven't seen it. So we're writing that down. That's something we're actually going to look at as well. We create these wristbands in a way that shouldn't be easy to duplicate. and can take time to duplicate. But there may be other things that we can do as well, and we're discussing that too.
Another rumor that I wanted to address is I've seen a lot of people say, like, well, what Marvel did, which was cool, with like making the back row, the front row with their little stage setup in the back, that, oh, there may have been less seats in Hall H, but I have a suspicion that that's incorrect.
So that's something that we're investigating as well. Our understanding is that is not the case. But we have to, that's just a cursory thing. I won't say that it didn't happen because I just don't know yet.
Yeah,
but we're going to look into that. And there's something else that happened during one of the panels that I don't want to throw any studio under the bus, but something that happened that I think they thought would be a very cool thing from a Comic-Con, and especially from a public relations standpoint. It really just set me off. And they didn't do it to be callous or insensitive or whatever. They thought it would look good, but it had a negative effect on my department in particular and the show as a whole. No attendee was affected. This was something completely different. But I think sometimes people take liberties, kind of like the issue that happened a while back with the Hall H thing, where somebody changed the plan because they thought they had a better plan. Let us know if you're going to change the plan. We need to know this stuff. And my understanding, and again, I can't speak to this as fact, but my understanding is that didn't happen, but it's something that we've heard and something we're going to look at. If it did happen, it really probably shouldn't have, but we'll find out.
Absolutely. And then real quick, just before we move on, I do just want to address one more thing that I've heard. And again, like, I know your heart goes out to everybody who was sitting under the tent for hours, and so does mine. But I've seen so many people say that, like, well, Comic-Con said, like, a wristband means it's guaranteed. And your verbiage definitely does not say that. So I was actually just going to read real quick, like, what your website actually says, which is, there's a Q&A. Am I guaranteed a seat in Hall H if I have a first seating wristband? And the answer is, first seating wristbands are issued such that the wristband holder will have first seating for Hall H, barring any unforeseen circumstances. We anticipate that all holders of wristbands will be able to get seating for Hall H if you follow the guidelines above. Comic-Con reserves the right to refuse entry to any person for any reason. So again, like, I've seen so many people say it says guaranteed, and unfortunately, like, it does not. But again, like, it should not have happened.
It should not have happened, and it doesn't absolve us from what did happen. I do appreciate you bringing that up, because I think one of the challenges we have, not even with this situation, but like when I'm dealing with city officials or whatever it happens to be, other people who will mention something. I used to work for attorneys years ago, and what always plays in my mind is a phrase that attorneys have, which is assuming facts, not an evidence. I can say this happened because I think this happened, but that doesn't mean it did happen. Now, and I think there's perception too. I think sometimes, you're getting a wristband. Why wouldn't that guarantee you? I think that we can probably be clearer about that, but I'm glad you read that. I think, also when I did Talkback, I had mentioned something that I think, a couple of sites took it a little bit out of context. We were talking about, can we have Wi-Fi in the back, which would allow lines people and stuff to communicate. It's very, very expensive. I think I'd mentioned that, we outgrew the space in 2010, which means we don't have enough exhibit space. Luckily, we're working with the city to have the Comic-Con campus. So a lot of companies who want to be first-time exhibitors who can't get on the floor can be outside, or companies inside who want to expand can go outside. So we're trying to make the best of a bad situation. Same thing with meeting rooms. If we didn't have the Bayfront, the Marriott, and the Hyatt, the San Diego Library, we'd be in even worse situation, because they've allowed us to have additional meeting rooms. Hall H was turned in, it was an exhibit hall. We turned that into a theater because the biggest room at Comic-Con was 4,200. So we wanted a bigger space to accommodate fans. somebody had asked, well, why don't you just buy the Wi-Fi outside? Why don't you just do? And we said because we don't have the revenue. And I made a comment that maybe we need to re-explore Hall H. Maybe that needs to be turned back into a revenue-generating exhibit hall. That doesn't mean that we wouldn't try to find a space that could accommodate that. Is there a space now? There could possibly be. I don't want to get into it because it would be utilizing a space that's currently being used for something else. But I think I shouldn't even say that. I'm going to get my bosses will be like, "What the hell are you talking about, David?" I think there are other things that can be done. We had our show in Malaga last year, and
Yeah.
a great group of people putting together. They had challenges with lines. They had challenges with stuff that they thought they had prepared for. They didn't. One of the things they're doing this year is they've doubled their space. There are a lot of hard-walled meeting rooms that are air conditioned outside. That has allowed them to move people around.
Okay.
Is that something we could do? I don't know. I don't know that we can afford it, but I think we wouldn't remove Hall H just to make more money. It defeats the purpose of why we created Hall H.
Yeah.
If we did turn Hall H back over to revenue generating, it would be because we found a solution of how best to accommodate those people in Hall H. So honestly, everything is on the table, I think is what I was trying to say. And I've seen myself all over the place saying, David wants to get rid of Hall H. And that's not the truth. That's not the case.
Yes, I have definitely been sent that article by like 30 people, and I'm like, okay. So, yes, that makes sense. All right, James.
Well, I wanted to ask about the Deadpool versus Wolverine screening that happened a few years ago, but I think we can basically connect the dots, and that's what you were alluding to earlier with in things that didn't go to plan, and then it ended up being a very large logistical problem.
Yes. And if I can say one thing, it's remarkable how often, I don't want to say people panic, but it's a scary situation to have, 70, 80,000 people in the building or surrounding area at any given time and seeing something that you may not be 100% looped in on the process and say, oh my God, this is going to go south. When those who are looped in are like, okay, it's going according to plan. This is how it's supposed to be. It's going to look a little odd, but it's going to work out. And you'd be surprised at how many times, usually on a much smaller scale, where somebody will make the decision to change the plan. And our president, Robin, is notorious for saying, who changed the plan and why? And invariably, somebody will say, I did because I thought I had a better plan. It's like, okay, well, we appreciate that. But we spent months on this plan. Changing on the fly, not usually a good thing. So,
as a follow-up to that, is that kind of event something that you are now like, we don't want to attempt that again, or is it something where you would do it because it did involve? I think the major thing that was the major thing about it was the fact that it was Hall H that was cleared and then reloaded, which never happens. So
yeah, we and that's something we're looking at as well. We don't typically reload rooms because it takes a long time to make sure you sweep the room and then let people in, which means less hours in the day for programs and panels. From anecdotal discussions and stuff, a lot of people had said, well, we'd like to have the number of panels, but we're also hearing two people saying, but it doesn't really help that we can't get in if we have a bunch of campers in there. I mean, we saw that with Talkback. There was a program in between Talkback, before Talkback, we were waiting outside to enter, and we got word, the program ended, and we were waiting for the room to clear, and it didn't. So we're looking at everything on how best to do that. Is it a hybrid of some rooms are cleared? Is it a we don't want this big thing? Is it if we're going to have a big thing, it has to be in another venue, someplace that accommodate? I mean, Those are great questions. It's something that I would hate to see go away. I don't think we want to see it go away. The fan experience shouldn't be a bad one, and I think it was in a lot of instances this case. But I think oftentimes it's a positive one when fans get to see, the Robert Downey Jr. being announced, or Loki comes out and does a speech, or Star Wars, title is announced. I mean, there's something about being at Comic Con when that happens, and if we can preserve that, we'd like to, but we just need to make sure that it's fair and that nobody has a bad experience.
And then the next extra controversial topic.
The most asked question, at least for us.
Will we ever see a return of carpet to the aisles of Comic-Con?
I'm sorry, what was that? No, I'm kidding. So it's funny because my initial reaction is, oh God, I hope so. But it's a very different situation now than it was, believe it or not, prior to COVID. I don't know if you remember, but, and I probably shouldn't say this because it's going to make people lament the carpeting. We had carpet throughout the hall. And
Yeah.
at the entrance to, I think the C, D, anyway, some of the doors, we actually had inlaid carpet with our logo. That was the most incredible thing, I thought. It was just really very nice. And DC and some other companies would put like double padding in their carpeting for their booths. So it was not uncommon to see Comic-Con staff in their booth. Sorry, we're just going to be here for like 3 minutes and then we'll get going.
Mhm.
The issue now really is the expense. It's an incredibly expensive thing. The problem is we have, and I know it sounds like I'm whining. I think somebody on social said, I was kind of whining about stuff. I don't mean to, but we are effectively experiencing rising costs every year, but we can't sell more tickets. We can't sell more exhibit spaces. So our revenue isn't flat because we do have some sponsorships and we get a percentage of the signage and all that. But back in the day where I think that expense was easily borne, I don't know that it is anymore. Also, it's become a huge sustainability issue, which I didn't realize. There are a lot of conventions, not just comic conventions, but a lot of medical device conventions, a lot of car show conventions that have opted out of carpeting or putting carpeting in limited areas. I think carpeting makes the show look better. I think it's more comfortable on the feet. My hope is one day we can have carpeting, but right now I think there are things that our money can maybe better be spent on. So I think in the short run, I don't see a return to carpeting, at least in the next 3 years, but I have my fingers crossed that maybe we'll see it sometime in the not too distant future.
We will wait with bated breath. We will wait with bated breath to see what happens here in 4 years, David.
You will be the first to know, I promise. Because I'll be jumping for joy. I probably shouldn't say that either, but
that's okay. So, one other hot button topic. The entertainment industry. I think we all know it is a fairly unstable place right now, just as a whole. And Comic-Con is obviously so much more than just Hollywood. It's comics, it's artists, it's everything. But Hollywood obviously has a big presence at Comic-Con as well. And I do think this year we definitely felt like, okay, Hollywood's in trouble. That means a couple of places at Comic-Con are scaling back. How would you say just the general everything going on in Hollywood right now is affecting Comic-Con?
It does affect us. I think that, if anybody reads, I was going to say the trades, but it's not even the trades, it's general.
It's
news, right? Mergers, people trying to take over, people being let go. One studio had a great experience at WonderCon, and had pledged to come back in a big way and was looking forward to San Diego. And we were so excited because the individual was a very, very high-ranking individual with the studio. And 4 weeks later, he and his entire staff were let go. That is something that is hard to rebuild. We've seen that with comics companies, a lot of turnover with some of the big publishers. There is a weird flux. And what ends up happening is a lot of people who come in know about Comic-Con, but may not know Comic-Con. And our job is to try to relay that information. But those people are also getting inundated from everybody, by everybody saying, I'm the most important thing. You have to, spend time with us. I did I don't remember if it was a keynote speech or, well, it was on a panel as well. It may have just been a panel with theater owners. It was the most amazing experience because, as you know, theaters, especially after COVID, had this huge decline in attendance.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
Oddly enough, there was one representative from a small chain of drive-ins who said COVID was the best thing for him because people could stay in their car, watch a movie, and one of the fascinating things that came out of that was, how does technology affect movies? How does streaming? There was a movie that came out, I think last year, maybe even the year before, that was a popular, I think, video game turned into a movie, and the studios had included QR codes so that kids could sit in the theater and like interact with the movie. And surprisingly, kids did not like that. They were like, our games are our games, our movies are our movies, never the twain shall meet. The other thing that was really fascinating, and we've seen more of this, is popcorn boxes and popcorn barrels. That's turned into a huge collectible item. It's driving people back to theaters. But it's a different animal, right? We never had to deal with that. Theaters were, everybody looked at opening weekend. Everybody looked at, stuff that now is, big franchises aren't drawing the people that they used to, unless you have something that just resonates. But what is it that's going to resonate? So, yes, it's very different right now. Yes, it does have an effect. We're working hard to try to keep them informed of who we are, what we are, and why it's important. Comic-Con is there are film festivals, there are CinemaCon stuff where, it's a business event. Comic-Con is one of the few instances where studios, networks, streaming services can actually meet the end user. And, we're not shy about, talking about what we want. And I think they are, the new people are seeing value in that. My hope is that we'll start seeing even more involvement. But not every studio attends Comic-Con every year. It would be great if they did. But another thing too is, when there was the strike, when studios were coming, all the interviews I did up until Wednesday, I think Thursday morning, was, are you going to cancel Comic-Con? And we're like, why would we cancel Comic-Con? Well, Hollywood's not going to be there. Okay, Comic-Con is more than just Hollywood. We love to have Hollywood there, but it's more than that. Well, can you survive without Hollywood? And it was just this doom and gloom stuff. Well, the show did phenomenally. We heard from people saying, we love Hollywood, but wow, it's like going back, to the old shows, and they loved it. And the buzz was so big. Thursday through Sunday, my interview questions were, do you need Hollywood? And it's like, yes, we want everybody to take part. It's a great pie of different interests. We're better when we're all there together.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, maybe it's just my perspective, but I'm like, to me, like, as several of these studios are pulling out, like, it's not so much, again, this is purely just me saying my opinion. This is not so much the studio saying, like, we don't believe in Comic-Con. It's just, they're all broke, man. Like, Hollywood has no money right now. Like, that's literally it, in my opinion.
It's a very different situation, right? I mean, I think another thing too is people who aren't familiar with the event think that a spectacular appearance at Comic-Con means the show's going to do really great. I remember years ago, a big paper was like, "Wow, Comic-Con missed the mark." The presentation in Hall H, drew applause and all that, and the film bombed. And I think what they don't understand is we're reacting to what we're seeing. If you're going to show 6 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes of footage and it's the best of the movie, of course we're going to cheer. If you show us 90 or 120 minutes and it's not great, guess what? We're not going to cheer. So I think, the savvy studio exec, the savvy producer understands that they need to bring something that resonates with the fans if that is what they want to do. There are a lot of films that don't come to Comic-Con because the studios don't think that it will necessarily resonate, and that's fine too. But it's a weird beast. There are new people in different places, and we're trying to do our best to make sure that we can answer any questions that they have, and that they realize that not just the event, but the people who attend the event are incredibly important to them.
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's shift gears again here. So I'm not going to lie. Like, even though I think this was a little bit of an odd year, I actually had one of the best years I've had in probably over a decade at Comic-Con this year. Like, I had a phenomenal year. And so just thank you in general for this year. I loved it. But for you, what do you think was the biggest success story that came out of Comic-Con this year?
That's a great question. I have to tell you, I think if you looked behind the convention center, there were fewer activations behind the center than I think there had been in the past.
Yes, for
The
sure.
interesting thing is, and we call them basically sanctioned because they follow our rules and stuff. There were a lot of non-sanctioned. We knew about some of them, but they didn't necessarily get our approval or whatever in other areas of the city. I think I was surprised as I was watching social media and news reports about people talking about how cool the activations were. And, I was like, well, where? And then I would see the stuff and I'm all, oh, I didn't know that existed. I didn't know that existed. The Johnny Depp thing, was very cool. We knew about that in advance. That turned out to be a really cool thing. And then I heard there was a lot of reports on cosplay, a lot of reports on people having a really good time. And I don't want to say I was surprised, but I was really kind of relieved that there was so much positivity coming out of it. If there is one big thing, Gary, that's a great question. I don't know, I have an answer because
That's okay.
I think I'm still digesting it, but I think this sounds horrible. I didn't think it was going to be a bad show, but I was really very, very relieved and excited that so much of the news coming out was positive. And interviewing people who were having a great time. And it was very hot. It was very muggy outside. There
Yes,
were
it
long
was.
lines. And guess what? They were like, oh, this is great. And I want to come back. And that's incredible to us. That's really incredible.
So, speaking of something that was incredible, last year, George Lucas came to Comic-Con for the first time. How long have you been trying to get George Lucas to come to the convention?
It's interesting you would say that, being a huge Star Wars fan, I'll admit this, back in the day, we used to dumpster dive in the old ILM trash cans.
Look, I saw you there's a documentary on Disney Plus. It's about 2.5 hours. It's a Star Wars documentary. And in the first few minutes, they're showing scenes of them filming down It was in Mexico, I think it was.
It was in
the
Yuma.
desert.
It was in Yuma, the desert,
in
right?
Yuma, and there's a fence. And who do we spot at the fence with some other friends trying to get a gander at what was going on in the Star Wars filming, but a young David Glanzer.
A very young and much thinner David Glanzer. But it's interesting. I didn't know that. I mean, look, we remembered being a film, but that was in 1982. And it wasn't until that documentary came out that the daughter of one of the women that I was with texted me and said, David, have you seen, I know what you're talking about. And she actually did a screen capture. And I thought, oh my gosh, we were so young. What was very cool about the George Lucas thing is we were big fans. We went out to the desert to watch them film, and there was a whole bunch of people from San Diego that went. We ended up becoming very friendly with a gentleman by the name of Sid Ganis, who was an executive VP. And our young fanish selves were trying to let them know that, yes, we're geeks, yes, we're nerds, yes, we're passionate, but don't discount us as being just a bunch of weirdos because we love this. We have a passion for what you've created. And the most amazing thing was Sid and Howard Kazanjian, who was the producer, were like, stop. We know you're passionate. We don't look at you down our nose. So, they're like, George is a fan. George loves comic books. George loves, this is a passion project. And we kept in touch with them for several years afterwards. Sid went on to head production at Paramount Pictures, ended up being the president of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, and still a wonderful guy, and we keep in sporadic touch. We always talked about George, and it's interesting because George, like I know him, George Lucas we were always told, was an incredibly shy man. He didn't sign autographs. He didn't make appearances, just a very shy man. That changed after 30 years or so. But we knew that inviting him, there wasn't much of not because he didn't want to see his fans, it just wasn't something he would normally do. So it was something that, I think we always dreamed about. We gave him an Icon Award years ago. There was a channel called Spike TV, and they had an awards show. And within that awards show, Comic-Con gave out an award. And we were giving it to George Lucas. And the producers were all, is there somebody else you want to give the award to? And we're like, well, no, why? It's all, no. Very deserving, but he really doesn't want to come and accept an award. I'm like, okay. So no, he's not like trying to be rude. It's just not what he does. So I believe the producer said, hey, if we make a donation to a charity, and he was like, okay. So I got to meet him, talk about the award before it was presented on stage. And wow, what a shy man. But again, never thought he would come until he instituted this museum.
Damn.
And this was an opportunity. George Lucas sent his production team in 1976 to Comic-Con before viral marketing was an issue, right? Because he knew fans could promote this stuff. He did the same thing with his museum. It was amazing to have him there. Fans were crazy. I think in September the museum opens. We're looking forward to that. So, how hard was it to get him here? It was something I think we kind of gave up on. And then when they called and said, would you be interested in maybe having George stop by to talk about his museum? Like,
absolutely.
Sure. I think we can find a slot. So it was very, very great. It was, for me, I felt it was kind of a full circle moment. He came to Comic-Con, and his team came to Comic-Con in 1976. And then in 2025, he actually showed up. So we're very proud of that. We're very, very proud of that.
As you should be. No, I mean, that was one of the biggest moments last year. Absolutely. One thing that I am always curious about is, obviously as attendees, like, we have our own traditions, but are there any traditions that like the Comic-Con team has heading into the convention that like we don't know about?
I don't know that there really is. I think by the time the show comes about, we're really exhausted because we've been working, 12-hour days up until the show. It's funny because it used to be, um, I was dumb enough to somebody would say, like on Wednesday, how are you doing? It's like, God, I'm exhausted, but things are going well. And invariably they'd say, the show hasn't even started yet. I'm like, okay, yeah, I guess that's true. Um,
But
and but we've been working on it, right? But I think each department may have their traditions. Some will have dinner with their team beforehand. Um, I think we all try to be very supportive. I'm trying to think of my department in particular. It's really remarkable. I shouldn't say well, it is remarkable. Everybody works to try to produce the best show they can. It's remarkable when people will jump in to help somebody else out that isn't their job, but they're like, "Oh, did you do so and so yet? Oh, crap, I forgot about that. Don't worry, I've got it handled." That happens a lot, and it's really you really feel like somebody has your back. It really is a team effort. Um, Everybody wants to make sure that everybody does a good job. So the people who spend money to come to Comic Con feel it's worth it, and they want to come back. Um, but I don't think, for my department anyway, I don't think there's any specific tradition, except apparently, I will say this. I will usually, so Eddie, who's the head of programming, years ago used to be my assistant, and incredible guy. And I remember I would say, Eddie, I don't think I'm ready for the show. He said, you say that every year. I said, I know, but this year, honestly, I really don't think I'm ready for the show. He said, you say that too. I'm all, okay, but this year is different because so and so, so and so. He said, you say that too. And I'm all right, well, maybe I'm ready for the show, or as ready as I'll be. And I think that support mechanism, um, I had a little incident that I had to use a cane this year. Um, oh my gosh, my team and people within Comic Con babied me like you wouldn't believe. And I was like jelly because I couldn't believe people were being so kind. And I felt so bad that, I couldn't do the stuff that I wanted to do. And honestly, it's going to sound cheesy. There's a great deal of love at Comic Con. And I'm incredibly lucky, as we all are, to be able to be a part of this. And if we can have a little part in bringing joy to people, again, I know that sounds like a line,
no.
it's great, which is why it really is devastating to us when things don't go according to plan. But we try.
We at least, James and I, absolutely know that your team behind the scenes cares and is trying. So we're always appreciative.
Thank you. You guys do a great job also of setting the record straight on stuff. We can't answer everything because all of a sudden that's what we do all the time. So thank you guys for setting the record straight on a lot of stuff.
We try as well. Well, before we let you go, I would like to know if in your 42 years of going and working with Comic-Con, do you have like one moment that really stands out as like your proudest moment? And I know that's a big question.
There's a couple of different things. I remember the very first time I saw an A-list actor on The Tonight Show talking casually about, what did you do this weekend? Oh, it was at Comic-Con in San Diego, and it's this gathering of, and I was like, 12 o'clock at night, I'm calling my friends going, you got to watch this. I couldn't believe it. I mean, it's like you can't see the forest for the trees, right? You know this person is there, but now it's being broadcast to people who may not even know what Comic-Con is. That was amazing. A second thing that was amazing was years and years and years ago, I was a huge Star Wars fan. Years ago, William Shatner was working on a novelization of some some books. And he came, and he was the nicest guy in the world. And at one point, I think he was doing a story for Good Morning America, and it was taped. It would air like, the following week. At one point he said, "David, is there anything I can do for you?" And I went, "No, just being here is great." He said, "Oh, okay." And I went, "What? You know what? If you could do part of an interview or stand up in front of our logo, that would be great, because we can't afford national advertising, right?" He's like, "Sure." So he talks to the cameraman, and the next week, watching Good Morning America with our logo in the background was like incredible. I think the third thing is, as a marketing person, you never ever want to say this, but there was a show on television that was incredibly popular, and they contacted us and said, "Hey, we're going to be at the show. We'd like to be able to tag a commercial at the end of the show, letting people know we're going to be there and to come to Comic-Con in San Diego." I had to say, "Well, tickets are sold out, and we don't want to piss people off by, and they're like, "Okay, so you're saying you don't want this free publicity?" And I said, "I'm not saying I don't want the publicity, but I don't want to piss off fans who can't attend the show."
Yeah.
They're like, "Okay." Well, they came back 3 days later with a clip, and they said, "Will this work?" The most genius thing. The show ended, a black screen came up, and it said, I think it was Dharma Initiative, that gives it away, is conducting, interviews for whatever happens to be, will be in San Diego this date and this time. To get an interview time slot, be sure to, if you didn't know what Comic-Con was, you wouldn't know. If you knew what Comic-Con was and were going to Comic-Con, it was like the biggest Easter egg inside joke, right? Not inside joke, inside scoop.
Yeah.
And that is a situation of fans speaking to fans. And that is something that I was so excited that we turned a negative into a positive. They turned a negative into a positive. And I love that. I love that we can all speak geek.
So
I think. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, you go.
Okay, so I would like to point out that David came up with 3 things, and that is indicative, I think, of a lot of us that go to Comic-Con, because someone at our party asked me, like, what's your favorite thing that you ever did at Comic-Con? And I came up with like 10 things immediately. And you can't come up with just one at Comic-Con, because it's so many things happen over the years. And even for something simple, like when we pick our dark horse panels for each day, we can't limit it to one usually, because there are too many cool little panels. So it's like, that's a Comic-Con thing, is you just can't pick one.
No, it's true. And I think what's great is that there is so much going on. It's remarkable that we sell our badges, our tickets months in advance, and the attendees are like, "I don't know what's going to be there, but I think it's going to be a good show, so I'm going to go ahead and invest." Even when Hollywood couldn't come because of the strike, almost no refunds. Everybody still wanted to attend. So you're right. There's a million different fun things going on.
I've been calling it Comic-Con magic all week long, because to me that's what it is. It's all these little things that could only happen at Comic-Con, and your team absolutely helps facilitate that. You guys make it all possible, and we're all very grateful.
Well, thank you. But honestly, if we didn't have people through the door, if you didn't help with spreading the information, and cheesy to say, but the love, I don't know that we'd have a successful show. I think what is great is Comic-Con has let non-fans know that you're welcome here, but you're a guest in our house. Don't look down on us. Don't, make fun of us. And I think for the most part, that's been the case. I mean, and I love that. I love that we can be ourselves. We can initiate and introduce people who become fans who never thought they'd be fans. That's wonderful, right? It's spreading the joy and the I don't know, the camaraderie in the community.
Well, I think that is a great note to end on. So thank you again, David, for taking some time out of your week, especially because I'm sure you would much rather be relaxing than on a podcast, but we are very grateful.
Well, let me tell you just real quick if I can. This has been a great deal of fun. I got to not only relive the week, but things I don't talk about or think about often, and that makes me very, very warm inside. I think I'm tired, so I'm probably be more emotional than I normally am, but it really does. It's great to talk with fans because we speak the language, right? We know, we identify with that, and it's great to relive all that. So thank you for the opportunity to do this.
Absolutely. And then I think we would be remiss if we did not mention that returning registration is on October 17th and open registration is on November 14th. So mark those dates down so you could attend San Diego Comic-Con 2027.
Excellent. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. Well, David, we're going to let you go. All you have to do is basically you can just close the browser and you're all good, but we're going to stay on and talk some more about Comic-Con this year.
Great. And if you see me, I'm not lurking as I didn't figure out how to close it. So, but I'm going to try right now. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, David.
Thank you. Bye. All right. Well, that was great.
Yes. That was much longer than I thought he would be staying on. I thought it would be a little quicker, but
he was
great.
He was very generous with his time.
Yes.
So we were very grateful.
All right. Time for all the news.
I think I just gave it. It's those dates. Those dates. That's your news. Well, I can give a little bit. So we've been doing some of a wrap-up coverage. Main thing, honestly, guys, is vote in the Shruggies. I want you to vote. I want to know what you think the best panelist, booth, offsite, exclusive, yada yada is. So go vote. Go vote, please.
So it's the Shruggies. Go to the Shruggies.
Go do the Shruggies. So voting is open through Saturday. And then we'll post, I forget if it's the top 10 or the top 5, but whatever we did last year, we'll do that again. So, yep.
Let's talk a little bit about experiences and things, specifics and whatnot about Comic-Con, and we're gonna kick it off with the good first.
Yep.
First thing, I didn't get to experience this because, as you know, I was barely there. But the lanterns offsite, we heard so many things from team members and others.
It was amazing. It was and not just the offsite, everything Lanterns did this week, I think was incredible. The offsite was super fun. It was immersive. You got a $70 ring, and then
that's crazy.
And then they had a whole bunch of locations in the gas lamp where they were also just giving away the $70 ring. It's you could literally just turn up at the smoking gun and claim your ring. So that was cool. I heard the panel was phenomenal and they showed 7 clips. I didn't go. I left right after my panel. I did not stay for Lanterns. But I heard it was great from my roommate who did stay. So yeah, no, I just think in a year where it definitely felt like a lot of studios were scaling back, the HBO Max went huge, and that was so nice. And we didn't even talk. They also had a phone charging station. That was cool. HBO Max also brought Stuart Fails to Save the Universe, which was, I think, arguably maybe the second best offsite of the year. So HBO Max just killed it this year. So thank you, HBO Max. And I did send them a very nice email today to say exactly that. Other things, Spaceballs, that was in Hall H. And I think that I also did not go to that. Again, I left after my panel, but I know a bunch of people who did, and they all said it was amazing. First of all, it's amazing that they got Rick Moranis to do anything.
Yeah.
Period. So it was incredible that he was there. I mean, they basically had the entire cast. I think Mel Brooks did a video for the panel, I believe. But everybody said that like it was just so much fun. They did a whole spoof on Marvel where they like did I forget what it was called, but like the Schwartz saga, and the initials were ASS. So it was like the ASS multiverse. So yeah. And then the Star Trek fan screening, Andy and our team went to that, and he said that was lots of fun. And I think most of the cast showed up at that for fans. And I know like we all have mixed feelings on One Iota, but I feel like I heard quite a few people who actually made it into that. So hopefully that was good, but I heard nothing but great things. And then Hall H, wristband debacle aside, I mean, Marvel stole the show for sure.
Marvel, we talked about it before the show. Marvel doesn't come unless they have something to do, and they did something like usual. I heard from people that the footage they showed for Avengers was insane. And the whole back of Hall H is the front row thing was genius.
Amazing.
Genius.
So smart. Ah, I love it. Like, just what a way to like honor the fans and say like even the people in the quote unquote like worst seats deserve like an amazing experience. And yeah, I just think that's so cool of them.
Both Johnny and Kim, congrats to Marvel for stepping up like they do every time they show up. Johnny and Kim on the blog, they said the guild party was really awesome,
incredible,
fan-centric. Felicia Day knows how to throw a party.
Kim called it a millennial fever dream. And what I took that to mean is like it was like stepping back in time to like 2012, so yeah. So everyone I know who went to that was like, it was freaking amazing. So I think that's really cool. This was absolutely the year of Dungeon Crawler Carl. I know so many vendors who were like, I had a print. I literally was like calling my wife being like, you got to drive down here and bring more because I'm now sold out. Not kidding. And then like I heard good things about the Audible offsite, even though it was one day only. We had a lot of one day only offsites this year, for sure. We had Audible was Saturday only, Widow's Bay was Saturday only, American Horror Story, the like 13th flavor was Saturday only. We don't mind one day only offsites, but can they not all be on the same day, maybe?
Spread it out, people.
Yeah, do they all have to be Saturday? Like,
we hear you guys talk to each other. Schedule it on different days. You have some power with the people, with the vendors you're working, with the studios you're working with. Kind of just lean in and be like, hey, you wouldn't be competing with anyone if you went on Friday instead of Saturday.
For real. But I do just want to talk about Widow's Bay for a second because I love that show, and I feel like everything with that show showing up at Comic-Con had to be like so last minute. Again, like you can just look at Sked, like when it was announced, like it wasn't on Sked. So I think the buzz and then like all the Emmy nominations, I think Apple was like, we need to bring Widow's Bay. Still don't think it should have been at Hall H. Still don't think it had any business being in there, especially on the day of Marvel, because again, do you know what real TV fans don't want? Is to compete with the Marvel crowd. But the offsite was really cool. The lines were super short, or at least they weren't necessarily short, but like it was fast. It was a cool little thing. You went through the line. They would ask you like a trivia question. You would get a nice little Widow's Bay keychain and postcard. And then they had 2 quick little photo ops. Then off you went on to the next person. So the line moved really quick. And I think because it was one day only, and then they didn't announce it beforehand, I think like that kept crowds lowish. So that was it was a fun little surprise. Even though it was not so much a surprise to us because they emailed us like 3 weeks ago. But it was still cool. So yeah. Johnny also mentioned that he loved getting to see the artists we highlight who had their tables and booths be consistently busy. And I love that too. but I also hate it because I feel like we blow up our spots and then I have to stand in lines.
So the true thing to do is to, when you get that good artist, you're like, I'm gonna go get stuff this year, but then next year we blow them up.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I almost like when I saw that Ginkgo house print, I was like, I don't even want to post this because it's too good, and I'm about to like blow this thing up. It's like preview night. It was like our second stop because I was like, we gotta go there before there's a huge line. So yeah, and I heard like, I think she had like sold out several days, or like she had to like limit it to so many each day because the demand was so huge. So yeah, that's the problem with promoting the people we love. But we do love you guys. And then it also just felt like a lot of offsites in particular have learned. Like Percy this year used umbrellas instead of just making people sit out in the heat, which was great because it was super fucking hot out. So thank you, Percy, for that. And then I don't know if everybody else loved it, but I sure loved Resident Evil being like, oh, you have duplicate tickets? You're going to tell us which one you want, and we're going to cancel the rest. Can more offsites do that?
That's a good thing. We do want everyone to be able to experience it as, as many people as possible to experience
Absolutely.
these things. Because remember, people, it's in most cases, it's only there for 4 days. In some cases, it's 1 day, but most of them are there for 3 or 4 days. That means not many chances. And if you're taking up 3 or 4 of them, there's 2 or 3 other people who could have done that, and everyone would have had a better Comic-Con.
Absolutely. And look, like, I understand that like these tickets go so fast and we all just kind of like grab whatever we can, but there is no reason for some people to have like 12 reservations to a single offsite. Like, there's just no reason. You're not going to go all 12 times. And it's just like, it drives me crazy. Just Comic-Con should be about letting the most amount of people have the best experience possible. And like, if you know you're not going to go those times, like, just cancel it yourself. Or if not, do what Resident Evil did here, and hopefully the offsites will start canceling it for you. Just saying.
There you go.
Again, I loved it. And then I also want to give a shout out to the Prime Video panel. I was in that because, again, I was waiting for my panel. But they put on a hell of a show. They paid for the big screens, which is a lot of money for sure, but it definitely felt like a whole experience. They brought out like some guys like dressed as the Nazgul, like onto the stage. That was really cool. It just felt like a whole big production, and like I was impressed, and I am not easily impressed.
Especially while sitting in Hall H.
Especially while sitting in Hall H. And then Johnny Depp and the Gas Lamp, I think, was also for sure a highlight. I've heard from a couple of people that like the panel appearance was kind of weird, but I think him being out in the Gas Lamp was just like a fun little viral moment, even though like we posted, like, rumor is he's out here, but it's because like, what are you gonna think when there's like 20 guys with studio cameras outside the Ebenezer offsite? Like, what could possibly be happening?
What could be?
And it is funny because we kept walking by this thing because I had found out like you don't go inside, you just look in the window, and we were like, they're spending like so much fucking money for like a peekaboo thing. Like, this is a waste of money. But when you consider that no, they wanted their viral moment with Johnny Depp, it's like, okay, this makes more sense. This makes much more sense.
And on top of that, all of the surprises and drop-ins, like a Green Day concert and things like that, all of those things throughout the weekend were awesome.
Yes. I would like to set the record straight. Mike Nelson in the chat. I have been to Hall H before this year, guys. Like, so many people were like, you've never been to Hall H. I have been to Hall H. that is how I know it's not my favorite.
I was going to say, that's how you know you hate it.
That's how I know I hate it. But I will say, I did not hate it this year, but it's because my friends got me front row. So that was not a normal experience. But it wasn't as bad. Look, I'm gonna go off on my rant. We all know I'm gonna do this. Look, here's the thing. You could put the exact same panels in Ballroom 20 and like people would not be camping out like 2 days before. They just wouldn't. Like in Ballroom 20, you can line up at like 3 a.m. and be the very first person in line because I've done it. And in Hall H, that is just not a thing. Again, like you could put Lord of the Rings in Ballroom 20, you could put the Vampire Lestat in Ballroom 20 and cut the lineup time down by like 36 hours. It's just the Hall H culture. And I just don't love it. And I have also camped out many a year. I have slept on the ground under those tents many a year. So many years. So many years. I'm not opposed to it. I used to sleep out like back before they even let us sleep under the tents. Like we were on the concrete under the signs. Like,
yeah,
I have done it, guys. But yeah, Hall H was much better this year than I anticipated. You were correct about the lighting. The lighting is much better. I will give you that for sure. And yeah, it wasn't as bad as I remembered for sure. It's no Ballroom 20, but it was not as bad as I thought. And I even put on a Hall H shirt for this podcast. So look at that.
I'm seeing multiple comments about it. I would like to say the Hasbro apology tour for the Transformers concert apparently was awesome. It's a concert apology tour for a cartoon from 1986 for a toy line, and they took it 100% seriously. And I heard it was like a 3-hour event. So they did an awesome job. They had multiple performances, multiple bands, and I would just like to say that's how you do it. If you're going to do something like that, take it seriously, people. Like, put the effort in, make it worthwhile.
Yeah. I see lots of people saying like Friday Hall H was easy to get into. Yeah, but guys, I like to be close. I don't just want to get in. Like, if I could just watch it on a screen, I can do that at home. So very different experiences. Very different experiences. Anyway, I also want to shout out Carrie and Mike Flanagan. I love Mike Flanagan. And so I was so incredibly excited that he made his Comic-Con debut this year. And it made me so happy because in the panel he was like, even as a fan, I've never gotten to attend before. And I like stepped off the train and I was walking around looking at everything. And I was like, I'm home. And I was like, you are home, Mike. Please come back. Get away from Netflix, who doesn't go to Comic-Con, and just stay with Amazon and just keep coming back. This is great. It's great for us. We love it. Carrie looks great, by the way, as well. And the only panel swag I got all week, because there wasn't a lot. So
there you go. All right. So people are making a lot of comments about the things that they loved that they went through. But we're going to move into the bad, the stuff that we didn't like. So first up, something that we all had to deal with, the heat and humidity. It seems like every 5 to 7 years, Comic-Con just hits right at that point where it is brutal. And those years are bad. They're really bad. and
yes,
I remember one of the last times it happened. It was the year that NECA had those video game turtles in like 4-packs of like heroes, the turtles and the villains. And I had to carry some of like 2 boxes of those from the convention center to my hotel, like 2 or 3 blocks away. And I'm like, it felt like I had like taken a shower on the walk back to the hotel. It was so humid and it was so hot. But it was kind of like that this year. So yeah, lame, bad. We don't like the heat and humidity.
No, but that's, yeah. I mean, no one can control that. So
No.
it just unfortunately sucks a lot when it happens. Yeah. And then, I mean, look, the floor this year was like a packed madhouse, like absolutely. But it's a whole like trickle down effect. I mean, again, as we just talked with David, like Hollywood is broke, guys. So they scale back, and when there's less huge offsites in the gas lamp, when there's less big movie panels in Hall H, there's less pulling people away. And so where do all of those people go? The floor. So unfortunately it meant like Artist Alley was jam-packed all week. Like I love wandering Artist Alley, and it was a miserable experience this year to try to wander around there. Small press was the same. Most of the booths were the same. It's just because there were so many people, which sucks. But so that's just kind of how it is some years. As I say every year, the very best time to go to the floor is Saturday afternoon as it gets closer to the Marvel panel, because the people go away.
You'd think it would be fine for like a day because they're all in line, but somehow everyone just kind of like, well,
everyone's getting a bathroom pass. You know it, James. I know it.
Or they're just like, hey, let's try it. Let's go get in line and see what happens.
Yeah, sure.
You're not going to move. Sorry.
I'm going to let you talk about this next one because you attended.
We're going to talk about Funko Fun Days. Funko had two problems. First, on preview night, they, of course, had wristbands for the lottery winners. And apparently what happened is someone's like, oh, hey, those look really familiar. Let me go down to Office Depot because they have the same exact ones. And everything in their stock was sold out in the first time slot. And people who had won lotteries for the later on in preview night did not get a thing of the limited exclusives. That was bad. That was a very bad experience, and I hope Funko learns from that. We'll see if they do.
I mean, the fact that they had to like issue a statement about like, we're sorry that like people made counterfeit wristbands. But I mean, to be fair, and I might be wrong, but my understanding of it is they bought like super generic wristbands. Like,
generic.
Why would you do that? You have been to Comic-Con before.
Yeah. Someone's like, hey, we forgot wristbands. Go down to Office Supply, two blocks down, and pick some up for us real quick. Anyway, the second thing, Funko Fun Days. I did go to that. It was out at the Rady Shell, moved from where it was supposed to be initially, like 2 weeks before. And it was like, hey, everybody, no tables. Bring your chairs and blankets because we're just going to hang out on the lawn.
Bring your own chair. Bring your own fun.
That, honestly, that wasn't a problem at all. Really, not really. The part of that was the problem is part of the overall problem of what happened at Fun Days. So in previous Fun Days, they've usually divided the room into teams. There's like, quarters. So there's 4 teams. You get a mascot, and they do those silly contests, ring tosses, drinking cans of corn, whatever it is. And in your team, you're rooting for somebody from your team that they randomly picked that went up there to win. Because if your team wins, you get something cool. And they, with the whole everybody sitting on the lawn thing, that's all out the door.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a secret that at Fun Days, they do cheesy stuff. It's sure. Fun. It's fun, right? It's all cheesy stuff. I mean, we all know it is. It's like, hey, let's bring comedians out. Let's bring some celebrities out. We'll do a little bit here. Let's have someone doing some ribbon dance from the ceiling. Like, let's do this or that. It's all that. But what they did is that interactiveness, even limitedness, limited parts of the interactiveness of the teams and whatnot, they basically just took all of that someone going would make you care about what was happening on the stage. They removed all of that and left the cheesiness. So the skits and the interviews and the contest that they had was just 4 random people, 3, 4, 5 random people were brought up on stage for each of the contests. I think there was 3 or 4 of them. Who cares? It's 3 or 4 random people that, unless you're their friends, you could care less if they win or not, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not you. So
Correct.
what? And half the time, half the contests are like, well, I know they're going to get whatever it is, so it's not even caring whether they get it or not, because you know they're going to get it.
Yeah.
And the rest of the time, it's like you're just sitting out there watching a few reveals, which there was very few. Like, here's what's coming in the product line coming out. It was like 6 things, 8 things, maybe 10. It's like usually there's like this big hype, and it's like it felt like there was no hype. So it was just like, let's take out all the things that make it pretty cool and just leave all the things that were the cheese factor that were enhanced by the contests and such. So like halfway through, they like, it's intermission, and we're like, why? You're not doing anything. There's nothing to reset. There's no prize patrol running around the room delivering toys for an hour. Nobody's tired. Why is there an intermission?
You say nobody's tired. I'm not going to name names, but someone sent me a photo of someone asleep at Fun Days and said, she's not the only one.
I would believe it. It was so loud, though. It was so loud.
It's just, I mean, they're just in so much trouble. Look, like, I never want anything to go away, but it just feels like they have bit off more than they can chew. Tickets were more expensive this year than they've ever been. And from everyone I've spoken to, is basically like, it was a bad event. It was not worth it. Like, the change of venue was weird. The chair thing was weird. And then, I mean, honestly, like, the fact that there was a Funko wrap up on the Omni also felt like completely tone deaf in relation to those changes. I do have a feeling that Disney probably paid for that, because like, it was all Disney properties, but still, it was just like, this is weird when it seems like they don't have enough money to put on the actual event that they sold tickets for, almost. So, right. I don't know. It was a weird year. I mean, they didn't do Fun Days last year at Comic-Con at all. They did that weird thing at their Hollywood store that like was not Fun Days, but they kind of called it Fun Days. I just have a feeling that like this event may be not returning. Yeah.
It did feel like let's do as much as we can with what we have, just to get one more in, and then we'll see what happens next year, kind of thing, as to whether or not it goes. So, what else we got? You can handle the next one. We already talked about it.
Yeah, so I mean, we already talked about it. Security was terrible this year. I do just want to mention the fire lane again, like we mentioned it, but like, people every single day, like heading to the floor, were like using the fire lane to cut, and everything that I've heard is like, it wasn't just 1 or 2 people, it was like dozens to hundreds. There was a real lack of swag. Again, I just think that speaks to the general situation in Hollywood. Like, I just think they don't have money to give things away at the moment. There were a couple of cool things for sure. The Wolverine claws were, I think, among the highlight. The Doom masks and Marvel were also pretty cool. I was pretty happy getting a Carrie poster, and it's embossed. I was like, this is raised. Wow, this is a nice poster. There was a poster in Spaceballs, but like, it didn't even say Comic-Con on it. But yeah, just in general, like, there was definite lack of swag. And then I wanted to read some of Johnny's, because I think he brought up some really good points. He said booth designs felt really mailed in this year compared to, say, like Funkoville or LegoCon. And I agree with that, like Lego in particular. But I feel like Lego is a real problem where like they've gone so big now with like LegoCon and Brickbuster that it's like, where do you go from here? Like, it has to eventually like start coming back down. Imbalanced portal wins continue to be an issue, with people winning multiple slots, even to like the same booth, while others went 1-0. I wish, like, I'm sure, again, someone somewhere at Comic-Con would hear me say this and be like, that's not possible for these reasons. But I wish, like, there was a way to be like, okay, like, you can win a grand total of one thing a day or whatever the case might be, just to, like, spread it out more, you know? Or, like, if you're going to win a Funko time slot, like, you can win one Funko time slot, not, like, 3 throughout the week. Just things like that. Jazzwares had some serious booth insanity. I hear, like, people got punched, including a child. I think they shut the booth down for a little bit. I might be misspeaking on that, but I just know that was a mess over there. And then I've heard from multiple people that, like, the filling in seats and panels was really weird this year. It felt like, Johnny said, it felt like the room staff tried less to fill in seats than in years past. And then from Sean on our team, he actually had issues in Hall H on Friday where he said it felt like they miscounted because they let in a bunch of people into Hall H, I think for The Walking Dead. And he was like, there were no seats. So we just kind of, like, walked the hall for like 20 minutes during the panel, like, trying to find a seat. So just weird things with that for sure. But to go back to what Johnny was saying, he was like, he would be waiting in line for a panel with no movement for like half an hour. And someone inside was sitting there going like, there's plenty of empty seats. Like, why are they not letting you guys in between? The Magic the Gathering Popsicle pop-up apparently didn't open on time on Thursday. And then also an imbalance in night events, which I do agree with this for sure. Like, Friday night had like a million things going on. And then Thursday was basically just fandom and nothing else in town. And Saturday, I don't even know of anything going on Saturday except like
I mean, Saturdays. When did Saturday become the not do anything night?
Well, I mean, for the bigger parties, so like fandom and IGN and that kind of stuff, like Entertainment Weekly obviously used to be on Saturday. Yeah. And so like every celebrity in town went to Entertainment Weekly, but Entertainment Weekly did not do their big bash this year. They did do something small on Friday, but it was for like, I don't even know, like 30 celebrities. It wasn't like the big thing that they normally do. But I think a lot of these companies just got so used to like not doing things on Saturday, but I'm also like, do something without the celebrities. Like, surely someone could do something for the fans on Saturday. Because yeah, right now it's just like a vast wasteland.
There was also Thrilljoy, which I did go to. It was better than Fun Days.
Yay!
I'm not saying it was great, but it was better than Fun Days. They had issues with their way of giving away extra things. Was 3 games, and 2 of the games were I mean, it's like, you know, knock on the little door window and they pop a pix out, here you go. And then another one was playing a game of pachinko to win one of 3 things. But the third one was axe throwing, which requires a safety lesson and like a how to do it lesson. And so it took forever. Basically, I was standing for hours in line just to like go through the things. You barely had time to eat. And there was also like seating for maybe 150, 200 people out of the 1,200 attendees. So there was just like, it was just, I think that those kinds of things need a bit more advanced planning and, you know, in order to get things running smoothly. They didn't even have like tape on the grass. They didn't have any kind of line management until I think it started at like they had doors open at 5. I don't remember seeing any kind of line management until like around 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
So things like that. So, but it was, like I said, it was better than Fun Days.
There you go. Okay. I have 2 more things I want to say. So one more negative thing was not a lot of offsites with reservations this year for sure. But I like reservations as much as the next people, but I also feel like it is absolutely an evolution of what we were talking about earlier. Like, people grab so many tickets that they have no intention of using. And I know that we are part of the problem. because we let you guys know and everything sells out in seconds. So it's like, you just kind of got to grab what you're going to grab. But how many of you also, like, if afterwards you're like, oh, I don't want that. How many of you actually release the tickets? My guess is not many. So I think, for better or worse, like, I just feel like reservations are possibly going to become like less and less, or at least like less meaningful. So we also had several parties this year that were also like, yeah, we did free RSVPs, but because like 2,000 of you grabbed tickets, it's really now first come, first serve. So it's just, yeah, it's just the culture of offsites, and I have so many mixed feelings on it. But I want to end this on a good note. So I know that we just kind of went down a list of things that we didn't love this year, but I had truly the best Comic-Con that I've had in probably over a decade. And it was basically due to the Comic-Con community. Like, I had so many amazing magical moments. Last year, I guess what, guys? I like the Vampire Lestat. And last year at the Hilton Gas Lamp, AMC had some signed posters from the cast, and they stuck like 20 of them to a door, and like they posted something to like their Instagram fan group, and like if you grabbed one, like it was yours to keep. At the Heated Rivalry meetup, which I did not host, but I helped with, a girl walked up to me, not even at the Vampire Lestat meetup, at the Heated Rivalry meetup, a girl walked up to me at the end and was like, "Are you Carrie?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she was like, "I stayed at this hotel last year and I got one of those signed posters and I haven't seen the show. And I've been carrying it around in my bag all week just in case I saw you." Pulled it out in a top loader, handed it to me, and said, "Here you go."
That's amazing.
What? What? So, and I had like weirdly like multiple other things like that happen to me. It was just, I have been doing this for a very long time, and as much as I love you guys, like sometimes it does feel a little bit thankless, and like I have never in my life like felt more love, like more gratitude for what we do. And it was just like, it was just really cool, guys. And I just love this community. And yeah, it was an amazing year.
Yay.
Yay. Yay.
It's like, I kind of got to be quiet after that because it's true. And we don't want to lessen that moment. But yes, thank you everyone for making Carrie's year awesome. It was so fun not being there as much. It was so much fun seeing Carrie just every day say this amazing thing happened, and then this amazing thing happened, and then the next day this amazing thing happened. So
yeah, I'm like, I have not even like posted or talked about like some of the most amazing things that happened. So it was definitely something that, you know, having gone to Comic-Con for many, many years, it's definitely something that happens. It doesn't happen often enough, but it does happen. And when it does happen, it's very cool to see. It is cool. Like I said, it truly, for me, like this just felt like one of those like magical Comic-Con years. Like, yeah, I mean, I feel like I like don't even have the words to describe like how amazing this year was. So it was a great year.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Yeah. We've not even mentioned our party. How fun was our party? And
yes.
And I also just want to say that as we stood outside the Omni, me, my roommate, and my girlfriend dressed in our very Christmassy outfits with our like giant boxes of stockings, like we had like 20 people come over and be like, "Are you giving these away?" They all thought we were a street team. Nope, not to you. Nope.
I mean, we are, but not to you.
Not to you.
Our party is fun, and I very much enjoy what the party has become over the years, because it started as just like a gathering, you know, like, hey, everyone who can show up, yes, and then it turned into like, hey, let's sell tickets and like give away a bunch of stuff, and now it's probably evolved to its best form, which is, hey, let's all get together after the con.
Yeah.
Let's come down a bit. Let's relax. Let's not have that hard reset to the real world just yet. Let's all gather one last time and enjoy being together in a Comic-Con environment for just a few more hours. So I think that's really cool. And I would say that's something that I think a lot of people do, you know, on their own. But if you don't, I would say for sure, try, you know, obviously we have a very limited amount of space, but if you have a group of friends you go with, if you're not already doing it, plan a Sunday night dinner and make sure, you know, try and stay all in town, and for a few extra hours, plan a Sunday night dinner where you can all just sit around and for 2 or 3 hours and just talk about your con and how awesome it was and share stories. And because you're going back to the real world the next day, and
absolutely,
that
it's
sucks.
Your last chance. It does suck. I did it today. It sucks. But I just love our parties because it always just feels like it's our people. Like, it just feels like it's mostly the same group of folks every year. And like, you guys get it, and you get us, and you get me and my another Symbiote Studios plush. And I am very grateful.
We get very excited about the dumbest things.
We do. I definitely have one of my mouse taxis over there. What was I even gonna say? I don't even know. Just again, I just love this community. Like, it was so much fun. The Vampire Lestat meetup was also an amazing time. Thank you to anybody who came out. I see somebody in the chat just said good job of my Daniel Malloy cosplay. I did cosplay this year. I'm willing to admit that. I say twice. I say the party counts.
The party counts.
Yeah. So, no, it was just a fantastic year. Jay Rice said, please, more tickets for your party if possible. I like it small, man. If you want to attend our party, the very best way is to join our Patreon. You can join it like 2 days before tickets go up. Like, that's fine. But that's the way to get tickets, for sure.
And the reason for that is because, have you been in a crowded party? Do you really have fun? No, you don't really.
No.
So at least I don't, and I'm sure I'm like more people that go to Comic-Con than not, in that I would like to be able to talk to people, and I would like to be able to sit sometimes, and I would like to be able to get some food, and I would like to do a few fun things, and you can't do that if everybody is crowded into one small space.
Absolutely. We are the only party that I was like, I want to go smaller. So,
but yes, so we're not like we're not trying to like get everyone to join our Patreon, because again, we have limited space. But if you really want to go and you want to enjoy the experience of hanging out with people after Comic-Con is over, like she said, join our Patreon for 1 month. That's all it takes. It's $5 or whatever it is. And it helps us. It helped during the biggest month of the year in our costs for running this site. It does help. So
yeah, you guys should see my hosting bill. It's interesting. Again, like, just, we love our people. You guys know who you are. Like, every year I go to Comic-Con, and every year I'm like a little bit tired and run down before I even get there, but then I get to see you guys, and it just like reinvigorates me so incredibly much. Like, I just love it. I love you guys.
Yeah. And now we get to sleep and relax, and
oh my god, I get to start going to the movies again. I can leave my house.
There's some kind of there's some kind of like comic booky-ish movie coming out this weekend.
Oh, I still haven't even seen the Odyssey. I'm like, I've seen nothing. I've been left my house, guys. Like, for you.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you, everybody. Let's go over this real quick. Let's see. I'm trying to get to where there's actually something we need to talk about. Oh, that's it. That's all there is. We will be back, as Carrie mentioned, October 17th for returning registration. We will have a live SDConCast during the sale. And then in November for open registration. Thank you. I know that most of you watching know this, but it's not just me and Carrie. There is a whole team of people who bring you the unofficial blog, and there is no way this happens without the whole team. From people who are finding information, other people writing up the information, people designing things. There's a team, and thank you to each and every one of you for doing all the work that you do to make sure that the site keeps going and all of the information gets out to the people who need it.
Absolutely. We have an amazing team. It is definitely not just me over here. And I want to give a shout out. She's never going to see this, but to Erin in particular, our managing editor.
Yes. Who has become the right-hand person who honestly probably saved Carrie. Because Carrie was doing way too much and has taken some of that load, and it's very nice and very good that she has done that. And everyone else who has stepped up even a little bit to help lessen that load is very thankful. Thank you to David for coming on today, and all of the guests we had throughout the year, from Mark Evanier and Gary Sassman all the way to the San Diego Metropolitan Service, for coming on and talking about all the things that they do at and around and for Comic-Con. And finally, thank you to all of you who are watching and listening and reading the site, because you guys are the only reason we do this.
Absolutely. Guys, like, I don't need to hear myself speak. Like, if it was not for you, like, we would not have a podcast. We would not have a site.
Yeah. And now Carrie says that, but the only reason she's here is because she's like, I wanted to plan for Comic-Con, and then there was a site, and I wanted to help because I needed to plan. So she would still be doing planning, but there is no way she'd be doing this much work for it.
God, no.
But yes.
Committed Comics just brought up the biggest news of the entire convention. Aaron went to a panel, you guys.
Right? For the first time in 16 years.
16 years.
Which one did she go to?
She went some wrestling panel. She had a headache. She didn't even like it. I was like, Aaron.
Did she tweet about it, and then now it's going to be used in their advertising for the next 3 months?
I mean, maybe. TBD. So.
Yeah. So again, thank you, everybody. We will see you in a few months. We, of course, will be here. If you have anything that you want to send us, or any questions or anything like that. For now, Carrie, where can we find more of you? I'm assuming talking about vampires, but also maybe some other things now. Maybe.
I mean, probably just vampires. But you can find me on Twitter at Carrie Dixon. James, where can we find you talking about Lorcana?
I am everywhere online at Dan Regal. I am the Dan Regal on Twitch and YouTube. I am on a podcast called Overexerted. Thank you to Beth, who edits the podcast, gets everything ready for this to be online. Thank you very much for doing all of those things all year. And I think that's it.
I think
so.
That's it. Okay, everybody.
Go Shawarma! It's over.